Welcome to Maturation 101. I'm your host, Dr. Chris. Now look, y'all can see today I'm casket fine today. But today we're going to talk about the NFL, which stands for not for long. You know, many times in life, I use the NFL because the NFL does not have guaranteed contracts. Major League Baseball, when you're a major league player, they have guaranteed contracts. The NBA, we got another one, but we can't use it in family TV programming. But we could say nothing but athletes with guaranteed contracts. Here's the bottom line. In life, most of us are the NFL. Not for long. We don't have guaranteed contracts. But so many of us are looking to get these big NFL contracts, but they get these they get the performance bonuses up front. And then everything goes against the salary cap, so the team is no good. Now, of course, I'm from Baltimore originally, so we got that case with Delaware's own Joe Flacco, who happens to have this big old contract, and it's taking up most of the salary cap, so the team can't advance. Okay, what does that have to do with you? Okay, in your life, what you're going to notice is that sometimes we get people in our lives who have high salary caps. They take up so much of our time, space, and energy, and they don't give back. That's why it's the NFL, not for long. You got to get rid of those people. Because what you're doing is you're taking your time, energy, and resources to try to deal with people like this because they don't want to see you or the person you're dealing with get to the next level. Frequently, one of the biggest problems we're seeing nowadays, you talk about couples, is that one person in the relationship or another has people who are NFL type stars. They don't have a guaranteed contract and they act like it. That's why they go out and they end up broke, because they go out and spend all their money. They go out and party, do all this other stuff, and they don't think about tomorrow. That's the advantage of a guaranteed contract. Guaranteed contracts are often structured so that you can get money guaranteed money while you're playing and guaranteed money while you're retired. So you don't have a chance of losing out. It's funny. You don't hear about baseball players going broke that often, do you? That's interesting. You don't. Number one, they got the best union in the world. The only people you see having the problems are the football players and the basketball players who have guaranteed contracts, but they just live so daggone hard because they're on the road every night. So having hung out with some of them, I can tell you some stories, but I won't. Can't violate the man code. But in all due respect, I would not have my daughter going out with any of them cats for a number of reasons. Plus, when they're like 40 and 50, their bodies are like 70 and 80 because of all the pounding they take. It's a tough life. They deserve it because they're going to need good health care when they get older in many cases, in terms of football players especially, and then, basketball players. Baseball players tend to live longest. But that might be changing soon. But I'm concerned about that because if you look at people of color, which two sports do they play? That's right. The NFL is approximately 77% African-American. The NBA, well, it's higher than that. And those are the issues. Baseball has a lot of Hispanic and plays a lot of Dominicans and things like that. And I'd be interested to see more of that. But in terms of African-American athletes in this particular country, they tend to come from questionable circumstances in too many cases. Although you're seeing a lot of second-generation athletes. Like now you've got people like Steph Curry and you've got Klay Thompson. Their dads played in the NBA. So you're seeing a lot of that now happen where people who have sons who used to play in the NBA, so they didn't come up the same way their dads come up. But the bottom line, by and large, these athletes, a lot of them still come from humble circumstances. And that's the problem, because if you're not used to having a lot of money and you're 20-something and 30-something years old, you tend to do things that are not necessarily the wisest things in the world because you can't see it. And remember before we talked about coaching? Yeah, they got coaches on the floor, but they don't have coaches off the bench because these coaches are too busy trying to see what they can get out of these people, extract from them. And you hear these stories of people going broke. Okay, what does that have to do with you? In real life, these guys got millions of dollars, so some cases they do end up broke, but in other cases they end up where instead of being, higher grade millionaires, whatever, especially with these tax cut bills just got passed, they end up being mediocre. In your life, though, many of us are thousandaires. So if you're a thousandaire, you don't have the same risk tolerance that these people have. But too many of us act like we do. Now, if you noticed before, we're gonna go through this one more time, folks. How many of y'all got coaches yet? Coaches and mentors, because you need them. You need a couple of them. You need people who are older than you, who can tell you what the hell to do. See, that's the first problem that most of us have right now. We don't want to be told what to do. And when you don't want to be, and let's be real, most human beings don't like to be told what to do. This is real talk. However, successful people, and that's about maturation, successful people are willing to be coached because you're willing to listen to people who have been where you have not been and may never go and will never go in 99% of the time unless you learn to be coachable. And here's the scary part. If you violate the 1% rule, you violate the rule and you become one of the 1% who actually does get there, you got another problem. Because that inexperience and lack of coaching will come back to bite you when you get older or mature in the business. You're going to pay. You either pay now or you pay later. But you're not going to get away. The rules still apply to you. Every once in a while, I want to slip through. But if you want to, I'll tell you what, the odds are not against the house. So what we said before, the NFL, that means not for long. You can be doing what you want, how you want to do it, any way you want to do it. But there's a price to be paid. And are you prepared to pay that price? I say most of us are not. And if you say, well, I'm prepared to suffer the consequences, no, you're not, because you don't know what it's going to be. It may be, if it's not you, it may be, you may have a child. It might affect your child. And trust me, when you have children, if something happens to your child that affects you more fundamentally, if you're a caring, reasonably not mentally ill person, it will affect you. You're going to pay. People always talk about karma in Eastern religions and things like that. That's a real concept, but it's really a consequence of sin. As the old people talk, wow, people don't want to, we're too sophisticated now to talk about sin, and that it actually is, it does. So karma is, you put stuff out there and things are done well to you and then you don't return it. How long do you think you're going to cheat fate? How long do you think you're going to rob God? How long when you get favor from God and good things happen to you and you crap on folk who do right by you, it's going to come back to get you. No matter how you try to justify it, no matter how you want to, how you may want to say it, whatever, it comes back to visit you, and you're not prepared to the consequences. There's something called the rule of unintended consequences. When you do an action, there are plenty of things that you can anticipate, but there are other actions which you cannot account for. And that is problematic, because the things that you can't account for, that you're not aware of, woo, you talking about coming back at you? Those are the ones that hurt worse. And you take a calculated risk anyway when you say, okay, I'm going to do this, that, and the other, and I'll take that risk. And you'll say, and that's acceptable risk. But what the risk that you don't know about is oftentimes more devastating, because A, you didn't account for it, and B, it's like getting hit. We talked about the NFL. When you get blindsided, you never see it coming because it's unintended. Even if you plan for it, there'll be something that happens. And so this is why we call it the NFL, not for long. So let's think about that. So your personal integrity is one thing. If you don't have any, that's even worse, because it's going to be even more. Let's be honest, there are a lot of people who don't have personal integrity. They think they can get something for nothing. They think they can do what the hell they want to do. And that's another thing. You can't do what you want to do. We all have to answer to somebody. I've been repeating this. You hear it all the time. You have to be coachable, or else you cannot get the success you want. Let me repeat that one more time. You must be coachable in order to be successful. And if you're not coachable, you will be compelled to be coached, either financially, either through confinement, through what you can and cannot do, or through civil and criminal penalties. You will be confined. But you will be confined. There will be a price to pay. That's why it's called, life is called the NFL. Not for long if you're trying to be successful. And the biggest part about maturity is understanding that, A, the rules apply to me. B, I have to treat people, the golden rule applies. I have to treat people the way they're treating me. C, there are written and unwritten rules. And let's talk about that. The written rules are ones everybody knows about. But don't think that you can do wrong by somebody who's doing right by you, because there's certain expectations. You're not going to, ladies, I tell ladies this all the time. Look, you rolling with a certain kind of dude, and then you're going to decide to say, well, I'm not going to kick it out of this. And really, if you were with any other, and it's because this guy's a good guy, you're going to do that. If you was with anybody else, you wouldn't do that, because you already know there's an expectation that you're going to behave in a certain manner. Do I have to spell this out, folks? You know what I'm saying. You rolling with a dude, you living with him, whatever, and he think, hey, you know what you got to do. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying, but that's the unwritten rule. And if you don't understand that, it comes back on you, because it looks like you taking advantage. That's just straight up. No doubt about it. And then some dudes are smart enough to know, okay, I'll do the long game and I'm going to do the right thing. But even in that, you got to, some of us are looking for the pot of gold, and it ain't there. When God bless you with something, you better ride the horse you came in on, because that might be the only chance you get at real love. And that's what maturation is about. You got to discover that So many people, and let me tell you something, and we're going to talk to the women for a minute, because I'm going to do a whole section on this about women, because I got to get my sister straight on something. We have bought into the Cinderella mindset. First of all, Cinderella was a blonde chick. So if you're a woman of color, she wasn't talking about you. I don't care if you do the Nicki Minaj, but they're not talking about you. You're looking for Prince Charming, tall, dark, and handsome, and quote-unquote age appropriate, whatever that means. We'll get into that later, because that's another bunch of bullshiggity. Love is love is love. If you cool with the person, they cool with you, don't worry about other people think, well, he's older, whatever. We got a president now that's like, I'm 30 years older than a woman. Is it about the money? Yes, because historically, rich men could have, or well-to-do men, well-educated men could afford a woman who was significantly younger, because by then he had gotten remember we talked about maturity levels? He had graduated to a level in his life where he could A, afford it, B, he knew what the heck he wanted, C, he was mature enough to handle someone who was in her prime and of childbearing age and can do it. And he may have got it started late, or he might have wanted to have a second family. That's the one advantage that men do. But, having said that, so to get past that thing, if you're getting treated right and you love ladies, you need to go for it and stop this thing about, I'm going to find somebody. Wow, he ain't grown. You're going to get all that stuff. I remember one time I talked to a woman I was dating, and her dad was around the same age I was. And he was saying, you're what she needs, even though, and I thought it was going to be a different kind of conversation, but it wasn't, because he had some insights, and he was telling me, he said, don't worry what people think. He said, you do the right thing. And that's what I'm going to tell you guys, do the right thing by women. Look, in life, you only get a couple chances in life to really love and be loved. And that's why this is called the NFL, not for long. Not for long is because these are the people who are short-termers. People who are looking for, I'm going to make you feel good, baby. Maybe pop out a couple cute kids who turn out to be the spawn of the devil. You want to know why we got so many kids here whose names you can't pronounce? So that, first of all, your name should mean something, especially in African culture and a lot of Latin cultures. Your name means everything. My name means a lot. It means a lot to me. Christ bearer, one who's strong in faith, all that good stuff. And Heidelberg is a whole other thing. But the bottom line is that you're trying to achieve greatness. So you can't get with somebody just because of how they look. Unfortunately, we know through research that people who look better get treated better. We know about that. They get treated better in the short term. In the long term, not so much, because what happens is if your personality doesn't match your looks, or you do things that are antithetical to that, then people turn on you and you don't get the cut card. They look at you like, oh, you one of those people taking advantage of them. So see, people aren't suckers as like you think they are. In the short term, that's why we call it the NFL. In the short term, yeah, you might get over in the beginning, but that's what happens with so many guys. They're young, they use their looks, they get the girls, it's very primal. She makes you go, ooh, y'all in love and everything. And then the problem becomes he's not ready. He doesn't want to get married. That's a problem right there, because he doesn't want to make a problem. You was good enough to bed, but you're not good enough to wed. That's a problem, ladies, because that means you just being used for the booty. And don't think it don't happen, because it is happening. And unfortunately, the smarter you are, the more credentialed you are, the more apt you are to be reeled in by some guy who's really good looking. Trust me, I got some friends, both older, younger, in the middle. I got friends from the 20s on up to their late 70s. They still running game on women of all different ages. I've seen it. And what bothers me about it is that the women think that they run the show. Now, let's be honest. I was told a long time ago by my mom, finance before rent. Ultimately, guys, you're going to pay. You're going to pay now, you're going to pay later, because it costs to date a woman. It costs if you think you're just going to get over and do what you want. You're going to pay. Ladies, let's be honest. If you're on the gold digger circuit, some women aren't gold diggers. I call them, they're in the pro-am circuit of gold diggers, where they're going to get what they can get, and then they think they're going to move on because they've got what they got. But once again, there's payback. And then other women are looking for what I call the white picket fence. They're looking for Prince Charming. And I'm here to tell you it doesn't exist, especially a woman of color. When you get a good man, you don't sit there and say, oh, I'm going to look for another one because you don't meet these exact criteria. No, the number one criteria is, does this man love you? Is this man taking care of you? Does this man meet your needs? Then you better go for that and stop searching, because you may not find it. And even if you do find it, because you did the other one wrong, you're going to get consequences. Because the other guy, sooner or later, is going to find out what you did to that one and won't trust you. Y'all haven't thought about that. Men talk too, just like y'all do. But the bottom line is your deeds will find you out. Either, and something you will do something because you're used to operating one way. And then what invariably happens if it's a man or a woman, you get the same thing you did to somebody else comes back to visit you in your home. And sometimes you get in deep and then it finds out. So, this is a men and women thing. A lot of women have been disappointed so many times that they don't know love when they see it, because they've been treated so many times. And they treat some good men very badly. Trust me, I've been through that, and it hurts. It hurts really bad, because women will say, "Oh, they want a nice guy." No, they don't. They want a guy just like the one they had before. They treated them bad. They wouldn't wed them, wouldn't give them a ring, strung them out for 2 or 3 years, maybe even pop the kid out or two, and then they want to go into a bigger, better deal. So now the women think they're gonna do the same thing. Y'all not built like that. Even if you say you do, you're a woman and you've got some other things going on that are different from men. The feminine mystique, whatever you want to call it, and it catches up with you. Why do you think so many women are now getting heart disease and stuff at rates that now are comparable to men? Why? Because you're doing men stuff. I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying that's bad. But if you're going to try to roll like a man, you're going to get some of the issues that men have. And in many respects, I think that 2-income families are a great thing, but I wonder what's the long-term impact on the children. And we're not thinking about that because we're so capitalistic that we're not looking at the democratic side of this. We're a social democratic republic, basically. And we need to think about what we're doing to the future of our kids. I mean, do you realize that I read a stat one time that if men paid reasonable child support, that the economy would be different for the better, because we wouldn't have to kick out so much money supporting all these kids who don't have a dad at home? Something to think about it. Beginning of this thing today, I talked about the NFL, not for long. I want you to examine your life. Once again, let's go back to your friends, the people you're talking to. Okay, are you talking to your coaches and mentors on a regular? Do you spend more time talking to them, or do you spend time talking to your friends when you're putting money in your pocket? I have to go with the economic message. You think, oh, we need friends. No, you need friends. If you're not a zillionaire can afford it, you need friends that can help you get to your dreams. And if those friends just want to hang out and have a good time, you don't need it, because you're making someone else rich at the expense of you. You can live your life when you got what you can really live. But right now, you have to take a time to build. And the younger you do it, get started, the better it is. Because when you get older, your body changes, things happen, and the earning power is different. So you got to figure out a way to save your ducats. And the 10% rule, you just save minimum of 10%. But here's the real deal. This is a Dr. Chris maturation process I want to tell you. I think everybody should be trying to be just like the businesses. Try to make 25 to 30% on the high end, so that on the low end, you'll get 10 to 15% of your income saved, no matter what. And you can get it pre-tax and get it in an IRA or whatever, or Roth, however you want to do it, and start saving and investing. And let's get these credit scores up, folks. One of the things about getting a divorce, I had to relearn all this stuff that I had. And then one of the things I discovered is I had a low income to debt ratio. I was making the money, but I wasn't buying anything. So, you got to do stuff like that, folks. You got to, even if it means helping somebody else to do it, you got to do what you got to do. Because this is the NFL, which means this here is Jerry. This is the NFL, which means not for long if you keep making calls like that. He was complaining about an official making a bad call. Well, folks, this is the NFL, which means not for long if you keep making bad calls and having extra things happen in your life. And you have extra because you keep wanting to get what you want. And we got to do it. Number one, wants versus need. Need should always win. Wants shouldn't be in the picture, because wants get us extra headaches, extra money we're going to spend to get out of stuff, extra people in our life we don't want, extra time getting them out, extra energy getting rid of them, extra resources having spent. So your time, energy, and resources always get extra when you start trying to get what you want. Focus on what you need, and the wants will take care of themselves in a good manner. Because when you start getting in your want, a want is a selfish thing. It's all about you, boo. It can't be all about you. If it's all about you, that means everybody else gets screwed. Sorry. A want is not a win-win situation, but a need is. And everybody's feeling the need. It's a win-win. We got to get out this wanton selfishness that's going on. It's one of the biggest crimes in America. And I'm going to tell you, it leads to personal hypocrisy, which we tell you destroys every dream. You got to get, so let's go back to this. Get your coaches. Examine areas of our life where we have that personal hypocrisy going on, and have a plan to attack it and do it. And then look at these friends. Are they adding or subtracting? And it's real easy. If they're not putting money in your pocket and paying your bills in an ethical way, then you need to spend less time or eradicate them. You got to cut it. Their friendship way too high. You got to cut it. With that, folks, I just want to remind you, it's not your environment, but it's you. the quality of your mind, the integrity of your soul, and the determination of your will. You are what you aspire to be and not what you're not. But you're known by the company you keep. So you got to fire some people. You got to go Trump on some people and fire some people because they're not adding to the quality of your dream. If they're not doing what you're doing, and you, a coach can only coach one person at a time. So your coach needs your undivided attention. Focus on your coach. They've been where you haven't been. And listen, be coachable and stop trying to do everything you can do. You're not Frank Sinatra. It's not your way. And Frank Sinatra paid a horrible price for doing it his way because he lost a good friend in the Kennedys because he wanted to do everything his way and they used his past against him. And your past does say something about your future. Look at track records. We're trying to get people to do things and y'all want to be doing what y'all want to do. Nobody wants to have a person with a track record. You know they're going to do what they want to do and say screw everybody else. It's selfishness. We have too much selfishness in this culture. And that's why we have the NFL, which stands not for long. And I'm going to tell you something. The NFL mentality is about, let's move a city. Let's do this, do that. We don't care about how people get hurt. We don't care about the local economy. That's what the NFL does. And so when you have the NFL mentality, which stands for not for long, it doesn't just apply to people, it applies to a whole code of conduct. If you look at what the National Football League does, I'm not hating on them, I like football, but in terms of how they will uproot people and everything and move the team, they don't give a damn about nobody. It's all about them. But guess what? They billionaires. They think they can get away with it. But you know what? You know what their karma is? Now they got the CTE. And the CTE is going to eventually get football. And they're going to have a problem. The sport may eventually be basketball or soccer like it is right now because people aren't getting CTE. But when you start getting CTE, that is the karma because what all the stuff that you did to these fans, I'm from Baltimore, sneaking the Colts out in the middle of the night, Oakland, screwing them over again, they get a team. St. Louis, rolling out a team again, Cleveland, doing the same thing now. How long do you think you're going to get away with treating people bad, treating the fans bad, and you ain't going to pay a price? CTE is your karma. I ain't say it was right. I ain't say it was fair, but that's what it is. And they did the same thing. Those old veteran players didn't want to pay them all those injuries they occurred, and they knew. They had studies for years on that. And that's what the bad thing about this. People know what they're doing. They'll try to justify what they're doing, but the bottom line is this is the NFL, which means not for long. And you're not a zillionaire, so guess what? Keep hanging around on folk that don't mean you know well. Keep giving them more love than people trying to help because that's what we do. We love the people who want to have a good time and hate the people that want us to get some discipline. Well, we're going to get some discipline in our life. And we're talking about this now. Stay tuned for the next lesson. You just finished. This is number 6. I'm editing number 5. So 6 may be up before 5, but pay attention. And for now, that's all, folks.